Peace and blessings all. From a Christ Lifestyle, I'm Brother Tazdak, the Sister Zakai. We hope everyone is doing well today. We're doing good. We had an interesting day today, just dealing with the children, dealing with business, things of that nature, and we're here once again. Peace and blessings. What it says, I am Karsha. Peace and blessings. Thank you for tuning in. So we're here just want to just share our testimony, share a story for today,
Yep. So if you don't know us, once again, we're Tazadak and Zakai of Christ Lifestyle. This is Tazadak. I'm Zakai. Tazadak is the breadwinner. He's the husband. He's the father. He's the entrepreneur and the ministry associate. All while I'm a homeschool, stay-at-home mom, a housewife, a copy editor, and a ministry associate as well.
So we have a lot of our hands, but by the power of the Most High, we get it done. By the power of God, we get it done.
Yeah, we wear a lot of hats. So we like to help struggling couples, turn their, relationship between men and women into a power couple. Right, so that's a process we have to go through, and we do that by bringing forth scriptures, we bring forth facts, statistics, and of course our own experience. So we do that for newlyweds all the way through like early marriage, and that's what we love to do. So that's why
we're also here to give information, help people, those that are maybe single, that's going to be becoming in a relationship or looking to be in a relationship, things that they can do to prepare themselves for that relationship. So once they get in it, God willing, it's not like a relationship after relationship. They come in, There's one relationship, everyone on one accord, and you move forward to the goal and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? Which the goal is long-term relationships between men and women, husband and wife, that helps build the community. Okay, that's what we're about.
Yep. So today, thank you for joining us. Listen, if you agree with anything we're saying throughout the entire live stream, just drop a 2. We love audience engagement and we love y'all support. And we just want to know if you agree, if you disagree, whatever it is, drop a 2 or bring forth your question or your point. Put it down in the comments, in the chat. We'd love to, engage with y'all. All right. So today we are going to talk about accountability in relationships.
That's a kind of touchy subject, you know what I'm saying? Because depending on how accountability goes, if you don't do it the correct way, it can become a problem in a relationship. So that's what we're going to bring out today, So let's talk about how a couple ways how we hold each other accountable. I'm thinking to myself, one way that she holds me accountable is for a long period of time. I wanted to lose weight, and I would say it, and I would say it, and she started holding me accountable. It was a point where I said I want to cut down on sugar. So what she did was stop bringing a lot of sugar into the house. That helped out by it not being in the house, has helped me fight the cravings and not having it so easily accessible and everything like that. And also, when it comes to me working out, every now and again she would just say something. Yeah, did you go to the gym? You started that workout process or program, anything like that,
Yep, and all while doing that, obviously there are right ways to hold your partner accountable and wrong ways. So best believe I went through some wrong ways of doing it and adopted the right ways of doing it, right? So the first thing we want to do is look at the definition of accountability. What does accountability actually mean according to our friend Merriam-Webster? So it's subject to the obligation to report, explain or justifying something, being responsible, answerable, liable, and obligated. Right? So those are all around, being obligated, having to report to someone, ownership, right? Responsibility. Hey, if you agree with what we're saying, drop it too. Responsibility, liability, and things of that nature. So you have to report to someone, whether that person is, let's say if you're very young, right? You are accountable to your parents. When you are at work, you're accountable to your boss, right? So it's whoever is like over you, and obviously all of the time we're accountable to the Most High.
And it's just you're accountable to the person that's over you and the person that you're working with as well. So in a relationship, yes, the husband, excuse me, the husband is the head of the relationship, but the husband is also has to be held accountable by his wife by certain things that he must do, and she's accountable to him by certain things, the role that she has to fulfill as well. So we're always going to be held accountable whether you like it or not, you know.
And so absolutely, the next thing, always keep that in mind. It's not just who's over you, but it's the person you're working with, your partner. So where accountability starts, right? Accountability starts usually in the home, right? Like at your parents' house, where you were raised, growing up. Is having that level of responsibility, being obligated to own up to your responsibilities, to what you need to get done, right? So that's usually where it starts, especially in singleness, right? Like if you're single and you have bills to pay, you're accountable to paying those bills, right? So that's usually where it starts.
And I remember growing up, my father always had a job, right? And with him always having a job, no matter what he was doing the night before, he was always up at 4:45 a.m. every morning to go to that job, because he was accountable not just for just himself being responsible and accountable for him to get to work and be to work on time, but also accountable for this family that he had to take care of. So that's about, for a man, that's part of being accountable, being responsible for your wife or your children that you have to take care of, doing what you have to do, of course, legally and morally correct.
Yeah. I like the fact that you brought up being accountable as far as men, because that's a big responsibility.
Yeah, because
women too, but
yeah, and you have some men that don't want to be accountable. That's why you have, in our community, in some cases, not in all cases, but in some cases, you do have these fathers that don't want to step up and take the responsibility for that child that they laid down and made this baby with. They don't have They don't want to take responsibility of stepping up to be a father to the child, of a woman that they made a baby with, and that's in some cases. In some cases, some totally different with a woman is stopping them, but that's a whole nother subject. But men, we do have to be accountable. And when you say into singleness, I remember before we got married, you remember one of the things I did? I said I wanted to do before we got married, or one of the responsibilities that I took care of before we got married. When we got married, she came into a house. I was responsible enough to get a place for us, right? And I had it all taken. I was living there for months before we got married and moved in. Yeah. But I got it, being want to be responsible. Like, what? We finally do get married. She has a home that she has to come into. Doesn't have to worry about paying the bills or anything like that. So it's no burden on her role that she has to play.
Yep. And that's a tip for singles. It is going to help you so much if you find someone, or not that you should be looking, but if you come into a relationship with someone or are interested in someone, definitely look for someone who is holding themselves accountable. So for example, if this person has bills to pay, they're paying them on time consistently, and you're seeing that, right? Not only that, but like if that person says, okay, I'm going to do X, you want to see them follow through with that, right? Because you can kind of tell, you will see a person's fruit by their actions, right? So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're with someone and you hold yourself very accountable, and that other person does not hold themselves so much accountable, because then when you come into that relationship, it's going to be one person like always trying to lift up the other one.
And it also goes to say that even like you want to be looking at them to make sure they're being held accountable for the things that they're telling you, but also how they deal and treat other people. Right. If they tell someone else they're going to do something, are they following through on that? If they, if they're slouching off at work and things like that, or they're slouching off at, they're in ministry and they're slouching off, you need to be looking at them. Are they going to be responsible in this relationship? When it comes down to it, Yep. So these are things you want to be looking out for,
Yeah, so absolutely. So now we're going to get into what makes accountability uncomfortable.
Before we even go into that, and also remember your word. Back in the days, they would say your word is your bond. Your word is your bond. That's where I'm from, right? Your word is your bond. So if your word is your bond, what you say, you do. What you say, you mean. Also, when you tell someone you're going to do something, when you say you're going to do something, you're also taking a vow to the Most High. So because people will tell me sometimes, I'm going to do this. okay, it sounds good. You're telling me that, but you're saying that in front of the Most High has nothing to do with me, you know? So the Most High is going to hold all of us accountable for what we did and said, you know?
Yeah. If you agree, drop a 2, drop a couple 2s, give us some hearts. So now let's talk about what makes accountability uncomfortable, just in general, right? Like not even like in a relationship. So just in general, the first thing is people do not like to be called out, right? So that's basically because, you know, people are vulnerable. Nobody wants you to tell them like, okay, what's wrong with you and what you need to correct. Even at work, it is so uncomfortable when your boss or your manager or the person over you comes in your room, comes in your office, right? Your teacher comes in the classroom and is like, well, you didn't memorize this lesson, or you came in late, or correcting you in any type of way. Like, that's just uncomfortable, right? Nobody likes that in general, right?
On opposite ends. You, the person doing it, don't like it, you know, unless they're that type of person, they get a thrill off coming down on people. And some people do, you know what I'm saying? Like, as I said, unless they're that type of person, you know, and if you're that type of person, you got other things you need to work on within yourself, you know. But yeah, so it's hard on both ends, you know. And also, you know, exposing. Excuse me. Go ahead. Sorry.
So exposing the thing that wants to hide. So everybody has this thing that like wants to hide. It could be several things. It could be one thing. It could be 2 things, right? So one of the things that, thank you so much. If you agree, drop a 2. One of the things that wants to hide in people sometimes is their lack of responsibility, right? Sometimes the thing that wants to hide is lack of time management. Sometimes the thing that wants to hide is lack of admitting that there's a problem, right? So those are all things that want to hide. And when it's time to hold somebody accountable, it's uncomfortable to talk about the things that you know that the other person is kind of hiding.
Or having struggling with, or having issues with, you know?
Yep. And it's also hard, obviously, being the receiver of that accountability.
And when you're speaking of time management, it was a point in time where, you know, where I had started having to hold you accountable because your time, you could touch on that if you like.
We'll talk about that in a moment.
Talk about that in a moment. Nah, but there was a point in time where she, you know, I would have to, you know, hold her accountable because of her time, because she has so many things to do and she has so many things on her plate. I'm like, you know what, you can't do this, you shouldn't be doing that. You know, I just help her out with different scenarios or advice on, you know, how to better make use of her time.
And we'll get into more of that later. And one of the third reasons is because you have fear of confrontation, right? So you are, you know, a little bit nervous of like how that accountability is going to go. Is that person going to react? Are they going to be upset? Are they going to flip out? Are they going to accept it? Right? So it's because we don't know how that person is going to react that it makes it uncomfortable to hold that person accountable.
And we've all been on both sides of it.
Yep.
We've all been on both sides of you know, having to confront someone about, you know, something that they was responsible for, they didn't do, and you had to speak to them about it, and sometimes it got blown up, you know. And you've been on the end where someone tried to approach you about holding you accountable for something you probably grew up. So you know, we're gonna touch on different things that we can do so these issues won't get blown up, or when you have to deal with accountability, it's smooth sailing.
Yup. Hey, Alex Marie, thank you for joining us. Amani Michelle, Boss HXT going on. Gang.
Double us _ Fred T. Yeah, peace and bless. Thank y'all for joining. If y'all can't share it, yeah, we talking about accountability this evening.
Yep, if you agree, drop it too. So now we're going to talk about accountability in relationships, right? What makes it uncomfortable to hold your partner accountable in a relationship. So one of the first things is the most sensitive thing. You don't want to hurt your spouse's character.
Yes.
I'll say it again. You don't want to hurt your spouse's character, right? That's very important because, you know, doing that the wrong way is going to crumble your foundation. It's going to take a hit at your foundation.
And it's going to make the problem bigger than what it is, you know?
Yeah.
And you have to question, you know, what your intentions on why or what are you doing this for, you know?
Yeah. So the next thing is you don't want to cause a conflict, right? So we'll talk more about our example in a moment, but, you know, there's plenty of situations where you want to bring something up to your spouse or to your partner and, you know, you're kind of nervous that you know, it's uncomfortable because you're like, well, this may start a problem, right? So we try to avoid that. Another thing is you don't want to hit a sensitive spot. You know, a lot of us have different issues. We come into relationships with different baggage. And so the thing is that, you know, we don't want to poke at something that's already sensitive, you know, and so either we avoid it altogether because we don't want to deal with it, or we do it the completely wrong way, right? If you're not doing it the right way.
And when we say something sensitive, it could be someone that they having problems with drugs or alcohol, and you're holding them accountable. You're trying to speak to them about it. If you're not doing it in the wrong way, it's not gonna work. It's just gonna blow up because you're touching sensitive spot. You're gonna blow up, make that person angry, upset, and everything like that, and probably have the person go run right out there and do the things that you were trying to, you know,
Yes.
make them aware of what they were doing. You know.
Yep. And the last reason is to avoid complaining.
And nagging. Yes, you want yeah, because you don't want to be nagging about it, and sometimes that falls on the women. You know, the women can be, you know, brother do this, brother
because
do
we're
this.
so passionate. That's why. Because we're so passionate.
That's what you can say that, right?
Yeah.
So when y'all want to be nagging, it's because y'all passionate?
No, not in every case.
Hold on. If she's
not
right,
in every case.
If she's right,
No,
drop a heart or two.
No.
Not in every
it's
case.
not in every case. Every case is not the same. You can't say that.
Okay. And also, fellas, you know, we don't want to be complaining all the time. If you're bringing something forth to your wife, you don't want to be in a complaining spirit all the time about it. So it's different ways of holding someone accountable, of pointing out what they need to do or step it up in, without complaining and without nagging. You know.
Yep. So now we're gonna get into our examples. I will let him give his whole thing about my where he holds me accountable, and then I'll give my whole thing about where I held him accountable.
Okay, yeah. So one thing, like I was saying with her time, right? I love this woman. She's the best. But honestly, you know, she has a lot of things on her plate, and I'm gonna go with today, right? I'm gonna go with today. She may not like this. I'm gonna go with today. Today, you know, preparing for today. You know, we have the children. You know, we're working together. We're doing everything together, right? So it was. I forgot what had happened. She got down on herself about something, right? She got down on herself about the groceries, right? The groceries, something like that, right?
You gonna throw me under the bus like that?
Yeah. So she got a little down on herself, right? So I'm like, I gave her counsel, like, babe, don't worry about this, don't worry about that. You know, just uplifting her spirits, like, okay, this is what we got to do to move forward. We got this, that, and the third to move forward. This is what we got to do and everything like that. So tell her what we got to do. She's like, okay, cool. All right, let's get it done. So about like 15, 20 minutes later, I go in the room. She's just sitting down in the bed. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, the situation about the groceries again. I'm like, nah, we can't go through this. So that's when I had to come down strong. Like, listen, you know, I told you before, our time is very important. So by the time you're sitting here 20 minutes, you could have been dressed and out the door by now, you know? You know, so therefore, you know, just holding her accountable for her time and everything like that, you know? So yeah, those one of the things and I'm not gonna go to you, but she didn't know I was gonna bring it up, but I had to, you know. And long story short, she finally made it out the door after I pulled her to the side, you know, put the children in their cribs, pulled into the kitchen, and then had another conversation with her. Then she was ready to go. Like, okay, all right, cool. Let me get myself together. And she was ready to go out the door and get things together, you know.
He loves me, but he never mind. So
also it goes back to time and a place too. Time and place. That's in one of the other videos that we talk about. You know, when you have to have a sit down with your spouse, choose the right time, right place, and you know, right environment. You know, so it wouldn't have worked if I had the children running around, making a noise, playing everything like that. So I had to put them in the cribs before I would sit down and directly deal with her one-on-one about her time management. You know.
Thank you for that counsel today.
You're welcome.
So, okay. So he holds me accountable with my time management. And obviously, yes, do a lot of things. The plate gets really full. And sometimes when the plate is full, time goes out the window.
And sometimes I tell her to take certain things off the plate as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So the other thing with him was for a long, long time, he's been wanting to put down sugar. And that's been his thing for like months.
I'm addicted to sugar. I was.
Yeah. So he was like, cake, cupcake, all pastries. That's his thing, pastries. And then with like a subhead of like candy, So we would go into the stores, and it's like that wouldn't be the first aisle, but that would be maybe like the third or fourth aisle that we go into, and we'd be
veggies always the first aisle.
Because that's the way the grocery store is set up.
But we always eat veggies, though. We eat veggies, yeah.
So I'll protect his image a little more. So that was his whole thing. He wanted to drop sugar, and I'm like, okay, I had already given up sugar because I had went on this whole like Candida diet with parasites, all that type of stuff. So I had already put down sugar, and so he was the next runner up. So he's like, I want to put down sugar. And so what I was doing was, I would, anytime I saw him with something sweet, I was, babe, you can't eat that. Babe, put that back. Babe, we're not buying that. Babe, no, we can't have that.
And she was trying to help, but she was taking the wrong approach to it because it didn't work. Go ahead.
Yes. So my whole thing was like a little bit too forceful. And so I realized like, okay, this is not helping him. This is making him feel like he wants to run to it more because, now it's like, well, I'm under stress and I don't have no other avenue, whatever. So what ended up happening was his body had a different type of reaction that he had never had before. So he was like, okay, now let me start putting down sugar slowly. So I started helping him in ways where it was like I would make alternatives. So first of all, I had stopped bringing cupcakes in the house, stopped bringing cakes in the house, stopped baking stuff, like sugar was out the window, and then he started telling me like, I miss eating this and I miss eating this. So I had to just kind of find alternative ways to go around it, right? So not eating like cane sugar, but like maybe eating coconut sugar or, something of that nature. But now on his own, he decided to put sugar down, right? And he's been sugar free for like
almost 3 months now.
Almost 3 months. And that was really hard for him because every time I brought it up, like, babe, put down sugar, like, he was like, I want to, but I'm just addicted to sugar, right? And that was always his thing, and he finally did it. And the thing that I learned is you have different types of people. Everybody is not going to, go based off of what you say. Some people, they just have to come to that decision naturally on their own. And that's what he did. He came to his decision naturally. Obviously, well, not obviously, but now I did a lot of prayer, right? That was one of the things that I had to do was like I had to pray a lot. Like he wants to fix his health. He wants to fix his problem. So I put it in prayer.
And another thing what she did, she started making alternatives. You know what I'm saying? Because I did tell her too. It's like, well, you're not bringing sugar in the house, so I'm gonna go get it from outside, and it's gonna be it's less healthy. So what she did, to help out, she started making it in the house with, like she said, with pure cane sugar or agave, not pure cane sugar, but coconut sugar or agave, different things like that, which helped out. Stopped me from eating outside. Now every now and again it's like, okay, I can have it inside, and it just helped out and worked out, So she did help hold me down with that. Also, with losing weight as well. That's another story,
Yep. Yeah, he's been doing great. So yeah, those are ways that we have things that we've had to hold each other accountable for. And obviously the things that we hold the other person accountable for are things that we have strength in, right? So he's really good with time management, so he can hold me accountable to that. And I'm really good with like no sugar, so I can hold him accountable for that, right? So those are our examples. So now we're going to talk about, yes, thank you so much for joining us, Zaria. Y'all live in 876. Drop a 2 if you agree. So these are different ways where you can hold each other accountable without being uncomfortable.
And now we're going to get in some tips, right? Yeah.
Yep. So the first one is choose your words very, very wisely. Right? So like we said before, one of the things that makes accountability uncomfortable is hitting a sensitive spot. So that's one of the things you don't want to. It's almost like dealing with a time bomb, right? You don't want to touch the wrong button because it'll go off. So you want to choose your words wisely, and you want to be strategic, right?
Yeah, because you don't want your spouse is dealing with weight issues. You don't want to be coming at them with the wrong way, talking about that weight, because that's just going to make them feel, worse if they know that they're struggling with, they're trying to lose, and you just come to, with the wrong words,
Right.
And also, second tip is time and the place. So like I said earlier, like when we had our things we was going earlier, it was a time and a place. I couldn't hold her accountable, have that direct conversation with her, with the children, making noise, playing in the background, running back and forth. So I had to put, look, you in your crib, y'all cool out for a couple minutes, let me and mom go over here and talk. So therefore, time and the place is very important, so the person's able to sit down and to receive what you're saying, and you can have a very, a better one-on-one dialogue with each other, all right, to get your point across, and the person to really receive your point.
Yep. And the next thing is to reflect on your objective, your why. So a lot of times we want our partner to change or to fix something, and it's not always for their benefit. Sometimes it's for our benefit. So you really want to look at, okay, why is it that I'm holding so-and-so accountable, to this? Is it because I want to see something, or is it because it's better for them? Is it better for both of us? Did they even voice that that's something that they were concerned about, right? So you have to look at why you even are trying to hold your partner accountable.
And the next thing is know when to fall back.
Oh my goodness.
Know when to fall back. Like she said, when she was trying to, when I was wanting to get off sugar, she kept like going at it, but then she had to realize, okay, you know what? Let her fall back. And when she fall back, she said she started praying about it. And next thing you know, I decided myself, okay, let me put down, the sweets and the sugars and different things of that nature. So knowing when to fall back is very important, because you don't want to be, keep pushing. Next thing you know, you're pushing that person away. Yep. So definitely know when to fall back.
Yep. And
one of my sayings is that I made up. You ain't hear nowhere. Always is one of my sayings I made up. Let it go, let it grow. Sometimes you gotta let things go for things to grow.
Yep. And so one thing too is like there are different ways to fall back. You can pray and fall back and pray. You can fall back and like leave little notes, or make like very scarce hints and things like that, or scarce motivation. Like I knew that he wanted to lose weight, so I would just like say, oh hey babe, you're not doing nothing tonight, why don't you just go to the gym? So and so are going to the gym, why don't you join them? You're not doing nothing. So it's just like, it's just subtle motivation. It's not nothing forceful, no pressure or anything like that, because I know that it's a sensitive spot for him. And
it was every now and again. It wasn't like she was doing this every day or every week. It was just like every now and again she just drop a little what's his name, And she was doing it because that's one thing I needed, Yeah. But that's not only one thing I needed. That's one thing I wanted, and I was making it known, Yeah. So she had to, she stepped it up in that area and everything like that. And she also gave me, some other encouragement, for your husbands and wives out there. You get the other encouragement. They say, if you do this, I'm going to make things, happen and, in other ways for you. If you get what I'm saying, drop a heart.
Okay. So the next one is trust each other's intentions. So basically, it's going to be hard in a relationship. Drop a 2 if you agree. It's going to be hard in a relationship to hold each other accountable if you guys have an issue with trusting each other's intentions. So, for example, if I felt as if he did not have my best interest at heart, or thanks for joining us, drop a 2 if you agree, or if I felt like he, was out to like, just point fingers at me and just say, you're no good with your time, you got to get better with your time, and just wanted to come down on me, it would be hard for me to trust that what he's telling me is for my good, right? So you have to have trust in the relationship, and of course you need to have transparency in the relationship as well, right? So you have to be transparent enough to say, hey, I'm struggling with this, can you hold me accountable, right? And there are some relationships where that can happen, and then there are some where that really can't, because there's a little bit of, some areas are more sensitive than others, so everybody's not going to come out and say, hey, hold me accountable for this, right? But it's a possibility.
And that's what we're here to help guide you in that. So, if you are in a relationship, you can, go to the other person, respond, say, hold me accountable for this. This is something I want to do. Can you assist me? Can you hold me accountable? Can you help me out with this? If you see me slacking in this area, let me know so I can step it up,
Yeah.
So that's that trusting each other's intentions.
Yeah.
And just being open and transparent with the other person. Like, I need you to assist me. I need you to help hold me up if you see me falling down,
Yep. And that goes right into the next one, which is a big tip, is choose your method wisely. You want to, it goes along with choosing your words wisely. But for example, if, you have someone that has a bigger problem, you don't want to push them to the point where the problem gets bigger. So you definitely want to, either speak differently, do differently, and just move differently. It may be something where you're providing alternatives versus just attacking the problem head on.
And also, did you touch on strategy?
Yes.
Okay. The next one is open lines of communication. Always having that communication with your spouse. Sometimes, and it goes back into what we said, being transparency. Sometimes people in a relationship for years and years, and they don't communicate. Communicate to each other what they're feeling, what they're going through. They don't communicate what their goals are because they're so worried about what the next person, what's this person I'm going to say laying in bed, what they're going to say about my goals or my dreams that I want to do. So you got to be able to open up with your spouse about these things. So I open up to her about things I'm going through. She opens up to me about things she's going to do. We open up to each other about our goals and things where we want to go, what we want to achieve, and everything like that. So we can, start holding each other accountable, helping each other achieve those goals or those dreams. So those are things that you want to have, the open lines of communication with your spouse.
Yep. And the last one is you have to know when it's spiritual. So, for example, if someone has an addiction and you're trying to hold them accountable, at the end of the day, addiction is a very serious stronghold, right? And some people see it as, your body cannot fight the addiction. Your body cannot function without, whether it be alcohol or a drug, or some other type of thing, non-substance. We see that also as spiritual, right? Yes, your body cannot function without it. Your body has become adapted to it, but we also see it as spiritual. And so when something is spiritual, you have to kind of know, okay, well, this is on a higher level. So now you have to, get on that spiritual level as well in order to tackle that issue, that problem, what that person is dealing with.
And that goes into prayer, and you may have to I would say definitely fasting. But prayer and fasting is going to be a very important part if we're dealing with a spiritual battle at that point in time. Dealing with accountability. So let's recap those eight steps of accountability. Wiseful accountability: choosing your words wisely, find the right time and place to talk about it, reflect on your objective, know when to fall back and how to fall back, know different strategies, learn different strategies to hold that person accountable, trust each other's intentions, choose your method wisely, or have those open lines of communication between each other, and also know when it's when it's something spiritual that's going on, okay? When it's a spiritual battle, okay?
Yep, and just remember that the point of accountability is to keep someone from falling, but it has to be done in ways that they will receive it. So that is all we have for tonight. Thank you all for joining us. Again, we are Tazadak and Zakat with Christ Lifestyle. If you have any questions or if you have any comments about accountability, drop them below.
Or shoot it to us in our DM. And also, if you came in midway or towards the end, once we're done, this video is going to be on our page. You can go back to the beginning, listen to the whole thing, and definitely support us, and we're here to help you.
Thank you for joining us. Peace and blessings from a Christ Lifestyle.
Peace and blessings.